Pro tip before we kick off, make sure you watch the video in 2x speed so you get in the value a little bit faster. Hey guys, Eric here with a quick video. Today we're going to go through one of our member questions. So Dan's asked, as a Zone O handler, what's the best way to support other handlers and differentiate between playing tight and playing wide? Context, it feels like I can always do more to help in strong upwind or crosswinds. Hitting upfield options against the zone feels riskier than taking closer options along with other handlers. Okay, cool. Let's jump into it. I've talked through a few talking notes, or I've written down a few talking notes rather. So number one, where are the gaps? Number two, how can we access it? And number three, find out what's working and what's not. And I think this is a simple framework that you can kind of think about when we're approaching problems when it comes to playing zone offense. So I've got ulti players up here. Don't get overwhelmed by what I've got in front of you. All I've got is the green in offense in kind of like a typical zone O scenario. So you've got 3 handlers back, 2 poppers and 2 wings or 2 deeps. This particular zone that I've got demonstrated is a 2-3-2 zone. It's a zone that we play here in Sydney. Probably other countries have their own variation of it as well. But essentially you have 2 people up front that are forcing towards the middle of the field. So if orange is the disc here, if the disc swings, 2 will go on the mark, force back infield, 1 will kind of stop this initial reset option. Downfield, we have 3 mids, so this is our short deep, which is kind of stopping the people in front of the disc. And then our wings are supporting that short deep. Our deeps are stopping our deep looks. Cool. So back to the question. Essentially what Dan's trying to figure out is, as this player, as this secondary handler, or as this other handler option, how can I help promote the disc downfield when it's windy, when there's things going on? Okay, cool. First, we got to figure out where the gaps are. So if we take this scenario, one common way that the wings will play in this type of zone is they'll kind of pinch in, knowing that the people on the mark, the players on the mark, are forcing infield, and that there's this secondary dump defender that's stopping the kind of wide pass over there. So as such, the wings will kind of pinch in. So first step is to figure out, okay, where is the gap on the field? Well, there's space here, right? There's space here. There's space behind this kind of wall of players. Okay, so we've gone and identified the gaps. From there, we've got to figure out, okay, how can I support my central handler to get the disc and then to hit those gaps? Or do I even need to do that? So first of all, let's look to see if we can actually hit these gaps straight away. Okay. If not, then we can see how we can use our positioning to support that. So if I'm in this position as the one person, there's a few options I can do. I can try stay where I am right here, see if this player can break the mark or get the around, get the disc here, and then all of a sudden I'm hitting that next option, right? So that's one way that I can stay wide and then help promote the disc downfield. Cool. Another option is, instead of staying wide, how can we still access these areas in the field? Well, we can go negative behind the disc. We can crash forward, get this kind of short dumpy pass, and then we might be able to hit these options as a continuation, all right? Or we might be able to even break past this initial cup and then get this continuation through the guts, through the middle, right? So that's our first step, right? Figuring out, all right, where are the gaps? And then how can I support my players, or how can I support my teammates to get the disc? Maybe not even get the disc if you don't need to, but how can I, in this situation, how can I support my players to get the disc and then hit those gaps? All right, let's go through another example. So let's say this is a little bit different now. We have these wings kind of playing wider, right? Stopping these wide throws. And then we have these handler defenders playing a little bit lower, so more poachy, more in the lane. All right, so the gaps are no longer kind of out wide. The gaps are more in these pockets, all right? It's hard to kind of access directly behind the disc because we have these people in the way stopping these throwing lanes, but we can kind of, like, these are the pockets of gaps inside the zone. So we apply the same thinking process. Okay, we've identified the gaps. There's pockets here, there's pockets here, there's a pocket here. What can I do with my positioning to access those pockets? Well, can I stay wide? Can I get this swing? And then can I get one of my mids to go through and then hit that, right? And then break through accordingly. Or do I have to come through into this little handler movement and do the same thing, right? And this kind of ties into the last point, which is find what's working and what's not. If we're swinging and we're not able to generate and they're able to set on and prevent those next options, then that's clearly not working, right? If we're swinging and we're not able to penetrate and hit those gaps, then we should try something else. If we are crashing through and that's working, we keep doing that. If we're crashing through and they're actually stopping that pass, then what can we do, right? We got to go to the other option. So maybe we start swinging and going around. I don't think the answer is as clear cut as you think. I don't think one answer is correct or one answer is wrong. And this is still the case, even if it's windy, even if it's still, that we probably want to do a combination of both, right? We probably want to have some combination of this kind of aggressive handler movement where we're going through the guts and trying to get that continuation. But then if they're stopping this one, maybe we want someone to come in, feel, we get that swing, and then change the angle of attack, right? The process is still the same. We're trying to find the gaps. We're seeing what we can do to move the disc so that we can hit the gaps. And then we're seeing what works, right? And then we're using all the tools at our disposal. So whether that's staying wide and getting the swing, whether that's going in and crashing, it's not always going to be one or the other. We're probably going to use a combination of both to access those gaps throughout the course of an offensive point. Cool. Hope that helps, Dan. If you have any questions or follow-up questions, just pop them in the reply to this thread, and then I'll do a follow-up video for you. Okay. See you in the next one. And then just to answer your last point, Dan, on kind of taking the options that are closer with the other handlers instead of taking those riskier points, right? Instead of taking those riskier downfield, maybe more penetrative options. It kind of ties into that last point that we discussed, which is what's working. The idea is, in this example, right, maybe our handlers don't even need to do anything. Maybe we're already finding these gaps and then hitting them through, and that's working. If that's the case, then that's absolutely fine, right? Maybe we don't need this erroneous handler movement. But to your question, if it's windy and our wings are playing really tight and it's hard to get these penetrative options when those gaps become tighter, then how can we help generate, right? Well, maybe it is the case that we get closer and that we start trying to generate through here to hit those gaps instead, right? But it comes back to what's actually working, right? If we're going through here and they're just stopping it, what else can we do to try move the disc? Maybe we need to get one of these wings to come in, and so that we can actually swing the disc and change the angle of attack, right? Again, the answer is probably not as clear cut as we probably want it to be. It's probably going to be a combination of different movements and different players getting involved. But certainly, if we can just do handler movement all the way down the field, right, and get these three guys or girls, and they're not stopping that, we take that every day of the week. But the problem comes when they do stop that. And so when they are stopping that option, what can we do to change the angle of attack? What can we do to access those gaps in different ways? Just to summarize, figure out where the gaps are. That's step one. Step two, try things, right? See what we can do to support getting the disc to that spot. Maybe we don't need to do anything. Maybe our handler can already hit those inside shots or overheads to get to the desired situation or gaps in the field, right? But then if that's not the case and they need us as a handler to support them, then what can we do? We can try staying wide, that might work. We can try going through, that might work. When that starts getting stopped, what other options do we have? What other things in our toolkit do we have, right? Hope that helps. Let me know if you have other questions. Happy to answer. See you in the next one.